Good evening and welcome back to 31 Horror Nights. It's October 7th and tonight's movie is Exhuma. This is a South Korean horror movie that apparently just follows excavating a dead body for like an investigation, but I guess they did it to the wrong dead body because supernatural things start happening. And I know that the title is supposed to be a play off the word exhume, but every time I see that, I just think of that vine of that little kid saying, "You got eczema?" I'm not familiar with the director, but I am familiar with the lead actor. He was the villain in I Saw the Devil and the main lead in Old Boy. The trailer was incredibly vague as to what exactly was happening, but when I think of ghost stories from South Korea, the first thing that comes to mind is Gonjiam Haunted Asylum, a movie that was off the walls. I seriously doubt the movie is going to be that crazy, but if it is, I'm in for a wild ride. I'm gonna go check it out. I finished watching Exhuma, and overall, I thought it was good. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. There is a lot of really good things in this movie, and it had this nice feel good ending. But it did have some problems, and there are actually a lot of the same problems I have with a few other Korean horror movies I've seen, like A Tale of Two Sisters, I Saw the Devil, and The Wailing. It's needlessly long, and a lot of the plot points are not explained very well. However, the horror is good, the characters are strong, and it did come together at the end. There's a really good cast of characters. The four leads all do a very good job. They all have experience with the occult, but they're in like different parts of it, and they're coming together for this big case. It starts out with this rich family that they believe is being plagued by the ghost of a grandfather, but then it unfolds into something a lot more sinister and a lot more dangerous than that. The horror in this movie I thought was really solid. There's a lot of things being kept in shadow, or they're out of focus, or they're hard to quite make out, which adds to the like mystery and the otherworldly, unknowable nature of the things that are being battled in this movie. However, while it is good at like subtle spookiness and creeping dread, there are also moments of clear, present danger. And that, I think, is where the movie really shines in the horror department. As previously stated, despite how much this movie does have going for it, I thought it was too long. Like, I don't really know what it is with Korean movies, but they all seem to be at least 2 hours. And there's also the fact that some of the details are not communicated in a very clear way. It sort of reminded me of A Tale of Two Sisters in that regard. It could be the cultural difference, it could be the language barrier, it could be the fact that maybe I just wasn't paying attention as well as I should have. But this is definitely a movie where I need to like read a plot summary after just so that I knew exactly what happened. But whatever problems I did have with the movie were overshadowed by the things that I think it did well. It's not the best K-horror movie I've seen, that's still Train to Busan, but it was enjoyable. Alright, now I want to talk about some spoilers. This movie is well over 2 hours long, so when it felt like the main plot was getting wrapped up, like about halfway through, I knew there was more to it, and there was. There was dealing with the spirit of the grandfather, who was apparently buried improperly in a weird location, but as it turns out, there was another coffin underneath it, and it's one, gigantic, and two, buried vertically. And the rest of the movie is about discovering the origins of the vengeful entity in that giant coffin and trying to deal with it. As it turns out, this is a spirit that's not even from Korea, it's from Japan. I remember that in The Wailing, there was the character of the stranger who was also Japanese. And while in that movie there was certainly a theme of xenophobia in it, not as in the movie was xenophobic, but the characters inside it were. In this one, it's framed a lot more neutrally. It's just sort of talking about historical relations between the two countries. And I gotta say, the execution of this, like, Oni, I believe it ended up being, is really, really cool. It's gigantic, it's like 8 feet tall. He has this scary, monstrous face and has a lot of presence. I really do like the way that they set up a lot of the shots with this giant entity. There was this really good shot where you see like the shadow in front of a barn door, and you could see how tall it was just from the shadow. I don't really want to go into detail about the plot because it is fairly complicated, but I really do want to mention how good the ending of this movie was. You learn a fair amount about the four main characters throughout the movie, the things that they have going on, like outside of this situation, and once it's all over, you see all of them going back to their daily lives. And there was a point where one of the characters, the main one, the feng shui master, was talking about having a daughter who's going to get married soon. And the last part of the movie is all of them going to that wedding. And when they're doing the big family picture at the end, he invites his three friends to get into the photo. That was something that really put a smile on my face. Overall, I thought that Exhuma was a pretty solid horror movie. It was overly long and I think overly complicated, but it did have a lot of things going for it. If you like movies like The Wailing or Train to Busan, I would say check it out. Alright, thank you for listening. I'll see you tomorrow.